Hello to all the patrons of the Moulin Rouge, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be asking and answering the question, how would I judge Drag Race France season 3? I don't know why I was going to say free. What am I, 4? Okay, whatever. Anyways. Yeah, we're gonna go through this season. I'm gonna talk about my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it, as we normally do, you know. I've done, like, this is, how many videos of this series have I done at this point? If I remember to, I will put on screen right now how many How Would I Judge videos I've actually done on this channel. It's the same as always. This season I thought was really interesting. There were a good amount of things I did like and some things I did not like. Potentially falling into that like season 3 curse kind of feeling at some points, but we'll get to it. The rules to remember, as always, are the season has to be as long as season 3 of Drag Race France originally was, which was 8 episodes, 7 competitive episodes, and the finale. And the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they were originally in the bottom, or vice versa, unless there is strong fan support for that being the case. The goal, as always, is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft this season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal taste and what was shown to us on the show. Before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you enjoy yourself. I love making these videos for you all and keeping up with all of this Drag Race. There's like so many episodes to watch. I'm also trying to watch Big Brother. And there's so much happening, but I'm keeping up for y'all. I'm doing it. So please let me know if you enjoy yourself. Okay, in episode 1, we have ourselves this kind of like introductory song challenge where they have these like different genre groups that you go in and like write a verse, like representing themselves and being like, "Hey, it's me. I'm here to slay the game." In these different styles. Now, the placements I kept pretty much the same to as they were originally. Really, the only change I made is that originally, Norma Bell was the winner of this challenge and Leona Winter was high. I did decide to swap their placements here. I do think Leona Winter did better in this challenge. And we will get to Leona Winter and the controversies and everything that, you know, the things that were done on and off the season later. I feel like that's a discussion that would be better served for a later part of the video. But I do think she did better in this challenge than Norma Bell did. So she is going to win this challenge here. Every other placement, though, I kept exactly the same. I feel like this challenge was judged very fairly. It is kind of one of those performance challenges where they each had so little time that it was kind of, you know, you kind of either like made it or broke it, you know. It was a make or break. You know, you either did great or you had a little moment of your choreography which you just like didn't seem confident in, and it's like, oh, okay, that means you're in the bottom, sorry about it. And that's kind of what happened with Adeha and Aphrodite. They both just weren't fully present, and it seemed to be you know, there weren't very many moves that they like actively messed up on, but you could definitely tell that they were like, am I doing the right move? And we're just like a touch behind what it felt like it should be. So I completely agree with those placements and every placement here. So the bottom 2 of Adeha Noir and Aphrodite Amore are going to be lip syncing to Sur le Fil by Jennifer. And I do agree that Adeha did win this lip sync. She, you know, served it more to me, served the feeling of the song. I feel like, you know, did more. Aphrodite, I wished would like pumped up the feelings and the energy a bit more than she did. So I do think this is pretty fair. Adea's gonna stay, Aphrodite's gonna leave, and we're gonna move on to episode 2. Episode 2, though, is where the placements really change, and I know people are gonna be fucking pissed at me. But it's what I decided to do. This is one of a few seasons where I judged every episode as it came out. So I was like, okay, this is the placements for this episode, this is the placements for this episode, this is the... And there were some placements that I went back and changed later on when I was like, I think I might have been too harsh, or, you know, I might not have been giving this person enough credit. I'm gonna just, like, swap these two placements and whatever. But I pretty much, for the whole season, judged it as the episodes were coming out. And at this point, episode 2 of the season, we didn't get to see how much of an icon Lula Strega would develop into. At this point of the season, Lula had been low and then originally was placed safe. I put her in the bottom, and I do think she would have been eliminated to Ruby on the Nail. But let's talk about it. Okay, so our winner, Perseo, I completely agree. Killed it. Wonderful dance number. Really served it. I really don't see why anybody else should have won the challenge. Leona was high. I completely agree with that. Great singing job from her. Originally, Le Philippe was in the top for her stand-up number, which was so good. I really enjoyed it, but I laughed at Adejo Noir's more. Adejo, I think, went pretty early in the challenge, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like second or third, or something like that, but it was early in the challenge. And when I tell you I cackled at her performance, it was so dumb, it was so funny. I loved it. I really loved Adeja's performance, and I was like, oh, Adeja's in the top for me. And then I saw people online being like, oh, Le Philippe should have won, and I was just like, Le Philippe was like fourth for me personally. Le Philippe could have been in the top. You know, anybody saying that Le Philippe should be in the top or should win, I don't think that's like rigged. I don't think that's like favoritism at all. Because she did do really well, but personally, Perseo, Adeja, and Leona were my top 3 for this challenge. And then the bottoms, originally, the bottom 2 were Magnetica and Ruby on the Nail. I completely disagree with that. Magnetica had a perfectly safe performance, in my opinion. I would say she was my 6th favorite out of the bunch. Like, her dancer falling isn't like their fault, you know? Like, dancer falling is not Magnetica's fault. Because you know, the show is like supplying these dancers, you know, for these performances. Like, yes, the contestant is like, you know, most likely, and I would say certainly, for like scenarios like this, like making the choreo, and the staging of it all. So there is a responsibility there to make it be something that, you know, is doable. But it is also the responsibility of the program of Drag Race, you know, to cater to the contestants' vision with this, you know, this scenario, like with this talent show. So the fact that the dancer ended up messing up should not fall on the hands of Magnetica, who is a contestant in this scenario. It should fall on the production team. The fact that that happened should just be completely scratched from the narrative. Just, you know, just mentally block out that one dancer and have Magnetica and the other dancers' performance be what it is, and have that be what it's judged on. That is, I think, the absolute fairest way to go about this. And I think looking at it like that, Magnetica did not deserve bottom 2 in the slightest. I could see a low placement, I can understand that, but for me, she was safe in this challenge. Norma Bell was low, as she was originally, and I put Lula Strega in the bottom 2. Her performance, I was bored. She also went really early in the challenge, and I just remember just sitting there, like, okay, like, it didn't give me anything, and I was just, like, waiting for something more exciting to happen. If you're gonna do, like, a cabaret, like, number like that, I think I really need more, like, peaks and valleys in terms of the song and in terms of the way you do the reveals, you know? Because, you know, she had this, like, you know, like, picking the, like, petals off of the flower situation, which, like, is a thing that's been done before, just, like, in general, and also on Drag Race. Bosco did it for her talent show on season 14. And, you know, at some point I'm expecting something different to happen, you know? I'm like, okay, are we pulling down the stem? You know, are you gonna, like, pull an actual flower out of your garment? You know, I'm expecting something different and something, I'm expecting a different type of reveal that isn't just picking petals off of your dress, and every reveal is picking petals off your dress. And I was just like, okay, sure. Like, I didn't live for it. And so sadly, the bottom two of this episode are Ruby on the Nail and Lula Strega, which were the fucking, like, duo of the season, in a way, that people loved, and that kind of, were definitely a good chunk of the narrative, but it's what I think is fairest, so I'm going with it. The lip sync song is Gigi Amoroso by Delita, and I think Ruby would win this lip sync. We saw Ruby lip syncing to this against Magnetica, and Ruby did win this for sure against her. And Lula, I mean, we did not get to see lip sync for her life on this season. The only contestant that we did not get to see lip sync. So I do not know really Lula's lip syncing ability besides how she did in her original song in the finale. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, she did all right. I don't think she did bad by any means, but I wasn't gagged. I think she did perfectly good in her finale performance. So just looking at that, and looking at the way she did in challenges like the Rusical and that first challenge we just talked about, my mind is thinking, and I think odds are Ruby on the Nail would have done better in this lip sync. So sadly, our finalist that had the best track record on the actual season is getting eliminated in episode 2. So we're gonna move on to episode 3. In episode 3, we had ourselves the ball challenge. Now, we do not have Lula Strega. Lula did win this challenge originally. She's not here, and she is instead being replaced with Magnetica. But this challenge, I'm judging pretty similarly to how this challenge was judged originally. We are subbing out Lula as the winner for Magnetica. Magnetica had such amazing looks on the season. If you go take a look at their unaired runways, like right the fuck now, they're so good. I'm gonna put up the picture of one of the unaired runways that would have been done for this challenge, and it is such a amazing look. I love it. And I think, I don't really know exactly how well Magnetica, like how good exactly they are at like the outfit making, but considering that outfit and considering the fact of what everybody else made in this ball, that outfit that didn't get to air is my favorite outfit of the category. And then I think as long as Magnetica is making something middle of the road for the other two categories, that's a locked-in win, my guy. Like, that is a for certain. And I do have faith in Magnetica that they're good at this aspect of drag. So I think Magnetica is going to win this challenge. Really the only other change I made was that originally Leona Winter was high and Le Philippe was safe, and I switched that. I just think Le Philippe did a little bit better. Leona was my fourth for sure, but I wasn't really gagging for Leona's outfit that she made, like the pants with like the the like top situation. I wasn't really gagging for it as much as I liked Le Philippe's outfit. So I decided to switch them, but every other placement is the same. Norma Belle is going to stay safe, Misty Phoenix is going to stay high, and Perseo is going to stay low, and our bottom two of Ruby on the Nail and Adeja Noir are going to lip sync to C'est l'Amour by Clara Luciani. And I do think Ruby won this lip sync for sure. Definitely did better than Adeja Noir. I don't think that was rigged in the slightest. I completely agree. So she's going to stay, Adeja's going to go, and we're going to move on to episode 4. In episode 4, we had ourselves the Rusical Challenge. Now again, here we have Magnetica, where we originally had Lula. Lula ended up playing the part of Eurovision Celine, doing the song, I'm going to try and remember the name of it without looking up. I think it's Ne pas de... wait, was it Ne pas de pas c'est moi? Ne pas de pas c'est moi. That's my best guess. I'm gonna look it up right now. Ne pas de pas c'est moi. I was close. I said, what did I say? I said ne pas de pas c'est moi. I was like 2 letters off. I was like a couple sounds slightly different. I tried my best. But I do think that, uh, considering that role, I think, Magnetica was one of the younger contestants on the season, along with Lula. Magnetica was one of the younger contestants on the season, kind of along with Lula. And I think with all the other roles that happened, and like what everyone else had, my best guess is that Magnetica probably would have either gotten the Celine Eurovision role, or like potentially the like American Celine role. But those are the only two I really see. So I just ended up saying, for these purposes, she's gonna take Lula's part, because I think that's one of the most viable options on the board. Now, I relatively agree with the judging this episode. The main switch I made was that originally the top two were Le Philippe and Leona Winter, but I decided to switch Norma Bell into the top two with Le Philippe instead. I do think Norma did better. Playing Renee was really so good. And Leona, she didn't give me Celine. She didn't give it to me. My favorite characters were the two that weren't Celine Dion in the Celine Dion musical, which I think might be a part on the structure of their like musical itself, of that, you're trying to impersonate one of like the most famous, like musicians ever. You're trying to impersonate Celine Dion, and the two people who do not have to impersonate Celine, they can get away with more. They can add their own identity to the characters, because like I've seen like Renee Angelo before, but like I hadn't really like thought about him. If you found a few men that looked similar to him and put them in a lineup, I don't know if I'd select the correct man. So I think that Philippe and Norma were kind of advantaged by the fact that their roles, they were less pigeonholed by them. But regardless, I do still think they both did the best in this challenge. So they are going to be the top two here. And everybody else is going to be safe. For episodes like these, I really always do, like, okay, there's 7 contestants, we're going to split that in half, 3 and 4. If it's like perfect dead even, like a 4 and 4, 4 will be in the top, 4 will be safe. But if it's a split where there's, 3 and 4, 3 of them are going to be the top and then 4 are going to be safe. That's the way I like to do things for episodes like this. And I do think Leona did the third best, so she is going to get the high here. And then Magnetica, Misty, Perseo, and Ruby are all going to be safe. Now, Le Philippe and Norma Bell are going to lip sync to Porque tu m'aimes encore by Celine Dion. And I do think Le Philippe would do better in this lip sync. She did pretty good originally. And I do think she could have won against Leona Winter. I can understand somebody saying that either or of them could have won that lip sync originally. Part of me leans Le Philippe. But I can understand that being up for debate. But I think with like the face that Le Philippe was serving the song, I feel more comfortable giving the win to her than to Norma Bell. Because in the one lip sync that we did get to see from Norma Bell, I was like, I thought she did perfectly good, but like I wasn't stunned. I wasn't like, oh my god, she killed it. She did great. She did a good job, but I do think just looking at how Le Philippe did in her lip syncs and how Norma Bell did in her lip sync, I think on average Le Philippe is gonna win this lip sync more than not. So I decided to give her the win here, and we're gonna move on to episode 5. In episode 5, we had ourselves the Snatch Game, where they had to do 2 Snatch Game characters, which is very interesting and fun. I like that they made them do 2. I like getting that, a la All-Star 7 vibes. Definitely enjoyed it. Now here, again, we have Magnetica instead of Lula Strega. So the question is, how would Magnetica do in the Snatch Game? Now, I could not find who Magnetica would do here. But looking at the field and how they have all done in comedy challenges throughout the season, and looking at Magnetica and what we got to see of potential comedy chops from her, I am not feeling the most confident in Magnetica and doing well in this challenge. I did not put them in the bottom 2. I decided to put them as low. But I just don't see the vision of Magnetica doing particularly well in this challenge, sadly. Most of the other placements I kept the same though, except for one change at the top. Ruby on the Nail originally won this challenge while Misty Phoenix was high. I decided to switch that. I do think Misty just did a snippet better, which is not a unit of measurement, but it's one in my brain now. I think she just overall did a little bit better in the challenge for me. I do think Ruby had my favorite character overall, which is her first character, that guy in the blue jacket, whose name I cannot tell you right now, I don't remember. That was my favorite character. But I do think Misty overall did a better job in the challenge. And I think I would have given her the win here. But all the other placements are pretty much the same. Ruby's just moved on to high. Originally Lula was high, but since she's not here, we have to move Leona or Perseo up to the high placement. I decided to move Perseo. Leona Winter is going to stay safe, and our bottom two is going to stay the same between Philippe and Norma Bell. And I think this would be really interesting, having in episode 4, we had a top 2 between Philippe and Norma Bell, and then in episode 5, our bottom 2 is between Philippe and Norma Bell. I think that would be so interesting to have the top 2 go to the bottom 2 just fully in the next episode. And have them lip sync again against each other, and have it be like, will Norma Bell win this time? What is gonna happen? Drama. In this bottom 2, with Philippe and Norma Bell, the lip sync song is Marcia Baila by Les Rita Misuoko. And I do think Philippe did win this lip sync originally. They were the same bottom 2. I think Philippe did better here than Norma Bell. I kind of mentioned this just a minute ago with what we got to see from the both of them. I feel more confident in Philippe in a lip sync in general. And in this lip sync that they did here, I do think she did win it. So she's going to stay, and sadly Norma Bell is going to leave here. And we're going to move on to episode 6. In episode 6, we had ourselves the Makeover Challenge. Again, we have Magnetica here, and we actually do know what Magnetica would have done for the makeover. I'm going to put it on the screen right here. It is really, really good, I must say. And I did consider giving her the win for this challenge, but I decided instead a high placement felt more fair, because I do feel like, while in my own personal style sense, I do like Magnetica's look more than I like Ruby's. With Ruby's look, I definitely feel like she hit the challenge of the makeover, like, right on the, like, she nailed it. Ruby on the nailed it. I really think she, like, hit the nail on the head with it. Because, you know, they had to make over older LGBTQ plus people. And she really, you know, got that family resemblance, made her partner look like her. And doing a makeover that, you know, just like visually in the face makes her look beautiful, but like doesn't make her look younger. Like shows like who she is, like shows who her partner is. And I think the outfits work together really well as well. I feel like with some of these makeovers, when they do it on older people, like they're just essentially like stamping a drag mug onto somebody's face, that their face just can't hold a drag face like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like like with like older, you know, looser skin, you know, if you're trying to transplant some young 25-year-old's stamped mug that sits perfectly on their face because their face is still tight, they haven't developed wrinkles that have set in as of yet. You know, they're a young bitch whose face can handle it. When you try to like put that on somebody's face who's older and has more crevices and wrinkles, and you know, more different planes, then sometimes it just doesn't fucking work, and you need to scale it back a bit. And I think Ruby did that and showed respect to her partner with that. That's what I've been trying to explain for the past like 2 minutes, but I finally was able to actually state it in the way I wanted to. So I decided to keep this win for Ruby on the nail. Every other placement is really the same. Leona Winter and Philippe are both safe. Technically, I think Leona was high, I guess, originally, and Philippe was low, but with final 6 episodes, I don't do that. We got 2 tops, 2 safes, 2 bottoms. I do think they were the middle two. They're both getting a safe placement here. And the bottom two is going to stay the same between Misty Phoenix and Perseo. They're going to lip sync to Hey Mama by David Guetta, featuring BB Rexa and Nicki Minaj. And Misty Phoenix does do better in this lip sync. I saw this discourse on Twitter, and I want to talk about it for like a minute, about the feeling of like it's not really fair to in this situation be like, hey, you're gonna lip sync to a song in English, like have fun, that's like not like the fairest thing. I think regardless of the franchise, if you're gonna be doing a song that is not one of like the main languages of like the country that your franchise is based in, then I think you have to give them ample time to learn the lyrics. And I think, ideally, no contestant would have a distinct advantage over the other, Like, if the US contestants were going to lip sync to a song in French, and one of them just happened to, like, let's say, in season 12, Nikki Doll and Heidi N Closet were fucking lip syncing to Ne Pate Pas en Moi by Celine Dion. Like, I don't think that would not be fair. I'm all for doing songs that aren't like the language of the area on a Drag Race season, but I think that both contestants should be at a level playing field, and both of them or neither of them should be able to also speak the language that song is in. Because I feel like once you escape, the language that everybody shares in the situation, then you're getting into somebody has an advantage that doesn't feel particularly fair. And I do wish on the US seasons that they would do foreign language songs. I feel like it'd be super fun. I'm waiting for the day that Dragostea gets a lip sync on a Drag Race season. And I know some of y'all are like, what the fuck is that? I'm talking about the Numa Numa song. I want it. I need it. I've been wanting it for years. And I don't care what season it comes on. Dragostea is, fuck, I think it's Romanian. I could be so wrong. I assume we're not getting Drag Race Romania anytime soon. But regardless, I really want to see that song. And, if I become a Drag Race producer, it's going on the season. I don't give a fuck. But anyways, Misty v Perseo, I don't disagree with that at all. I completely agree with the original judging. And we're going to move on to episode 7. Now, here in episode 7, we have ourselves this, like, triple challenge, where they have to make a wig, do a roast, do, like, a girl groups, and then a runway as well. It's a whole lot of shit that they have to do in this episode. Magnetica, I think, would do pretty damn good in the girl groups to start off. I think would probably be second or third best. I think Misty would do better, and I think that Magnetica and Ruby would fight for second and third. I think would also do pretty well in the wig making. As I mentioned earlier, I do believe in Magnetica. Probably she would do well in, something like that. I do think Leona, did the best in that challenge. And I think Magnetica, again, would be like second or third for that. But in the runway and the roast, I assume Magnetica would be in the lower end of the pack. No, Magnetica did win the ball challenge earlier this season. But looking at the runway looks in this episode, like, for me, Le Philippe and Ruby cleared. They did so good. And Misty Phoenix, I think, did a really good job as well. And I know Magnetica had great looks during the season, but I love those 3 looks a lot. And I think at best, Magnetica's doing third, but is probably like 4th. Maybe 5th in that category for me. And I think also in the roast challenge, again, I don't feel particularly confident in Magnetica's performance abilities when it comes to like the comedy things. And so I again think at the best is doing third, most likely 4th or 5th. So we have like probably second or third for 2 of them, and probably like a 4th or 5th for another 2 of them. Which, when looking at that and leveling it all out, equals like second to last. So a bottom placement for her is what I ended up settling on. Originally, Lula Strega did win this challenge, but she is not here. So the person who did the second best originally, who I completely agree is getting bumped up to the win placement, and that is Ruby on the Nail. And our contestant who placed safe originally, Le Philippe, is going to be moved up to a high placement. Now, originally, Misty Phoenix and Leona Winter were the bottom two for this challenge, but I disagree with that. I think Misty Phoenix did better than the judges gave her credit for. I think she did the best in the girl groups. I don't really see a universe where she doesn't do the best in the girl groups. She's, I think, a very solid third, and I don't think it's going to go lower than third. But it could potentially be fourth, but I would say third in the runway category. Looking at the wigs, Misty, I do think is probably last. But looking at the roast, I do think Misty is my third favorite in this roast. I think she does better than Leona, for sure. And based off what I said earlier, I do think she does better than Magnetica. So she's got like a first, 2/3, and a fifth, which is, you know, dead in the middle. That literally equates to being like, you did the middleist. So I did decide to put her as safe. Leona Winter's going to be in the bottom. I do think Leona did the worst in the roast part of the challenge. I do think she would do fourth or fifth in the runway part of the challenge. I think she would have done the fourth best in the girl group part of the challenge. And I do think she did the best in the wig portion of the challenge. But besides the wig portion, every other placement is like a fourth or a fifth. So I do think she'd be in the bottom with Magnetica. So Magnetica and Leona Winter are going to lip sync to En Rouge et Noir avec une Masse. And I do think Leona did a fine job in this lip sync. I think she did a good job, actually. But I do think Magnetica, based off of the lip sync chops we saw from her earlier against Ruby on the Nail, I do think she would have done better. So I am saying that Magnetica is going to win and Leona is going to be eliminated. Now I'm really quickly going to talk about the controversy surrounding Leona. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't want to dwell on negative stuff right now. But to kind of go over it, we have, since found out, well, most of the general public has since found out, since, midway through the season that, she did do blackface on the Switch Season 2, which is crazy that they were making people do blackface on television in like 2018. How were they doing that? Why were they doing that? That's ridiculous. And like, I understand people saying like, oh, she was like pressured to do it for the competition purposes. She was young and whatever. I get that. Like, those are words and I understand those words. But I think regardless of how potentially vulnerable you are in the situation, being put into it, I do not assume that she was in a vulnerable enough situation where she felt that she was being forced to do blackface and had no say in doing anything against it, and then never spoke out on it after until she was called out on it, as far as I know. That's what really kind of like is like, okay, that's what gets me, is that the fact that she really didn't speak out on it until she was forced to. If I felt like I was forced into that situation, I would have, as soon as I was contractually legally able, been like, hey, I was really uncomfortable being told I had to do this, but I felt I had to for blank 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 reasons, and I'm sorry. The fact that nothing happened until now is like crazy. And also with the wig that she had on this episode, it's not looking good for Leona Winter. And so I think this is a very convenient and, truthfully, what I think would happen place to drop her off at. And I think it's good for storyline reasons. Leona comes in as like this big queen that people think is going to do really well in the season, and she does great in the first episode. But she kind of slowly like loses placements, just becomes like safe, and then right before the finale gets sniped out, and people are like, oh, what the fuck? I think that would be a good storyline. And so that is what's going to happen here. And we're going to move on to the finale. Alright, so here in the finale, we have two contestants that did not originally compete in the finale, in Magnetica and Misty Phoenix. So how would the both of them do? I think they would both do pretty well. They each have to perform their like own signature, created numbers for this finale. And then the top two of them lip sync for the win. Now, originally, Le Philippe and Ruby on the Nail were the top two of the season, and I agree with that in the original scenario with Lula Strega and Leona Winter there. I do think these two did the best in the finale. and deserve the top 2. But with Magnetica and Misty, would that change? I think it potentially could change. Magnetica and Misty are both great performers, so I know that they would excel just in the physical like performance of it department, but my question is like, are their songs better, you know? And that's where I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure what their songs end up being. And because of that, we kind of have them as like an unknown factor. And also because looking at the track records of the season, 3 of them are tied. Ruby, Magnetica, and Misty all have the exact same PPE score. And Lee Philippe has literally 1 point better than them. I think, you know, that doesn't matter, and it comes down to potentially how you feel about these performances and how you think they would do, and also how iconic and like what would it be if this contestant won the season. And so I decided to leave Ruby and Lee Philippe as the top 2. I think Lee Philippe and Ruby on the Nail both did amazing in their finale performances, and they're also my 2 favorite contestants from the season. So I really think it just comes down to preference on who you'd want in this scenario to make the top 2. And I decided to keep it as it originally was. They're gonna lip sync to I'm Alive by Celine Dion, and they both did really good in this, but I do think Ruby did better. I did prefer Ruby's performance. It felt more true to the song, and I really liked her reveals and the way that she presented herself, because when she, you know, raised like the hood on her costume, I was like, oh, she's a nun, and then I saw the medal underneath that, I was like, oh, she's Joan of Arc. And I was like, oh, I get it, I love it. And I do think she really performed the song super well. And Ruby is also just my favorite queen of the season, so I would want to see Ruby on the Nail win this season here, and I think it's well deserved. These are the track records of the season. As you can see, literally 4 contestants have the same track record. 3 of our finale contestants that made the finale and Leona Winter all have a 3.14 PPE score. The highest PPE is 3.28, which is, I think, maybe the lowest highest PPE score we've ever seen on my judging of this. And I mean, a lot of people did really well this season. I mean, literally every contestant from 8th place and upwards had at least 1 placement in the top. And every contestant from 7th place upwards had 2 placements in the top at least. So the season was really just like very evenly spread in terms of how well people did. Which I think is really fascinating. But that is going to be the end for this video. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed yourself. Please leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below. As always, I will leave my Twitter link in the description down below if you want to go follow me on there. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.